Welcome back to the Pick Six channel, and I got some good news for you today because we're gonna have a fun little episode. We're gonna try something new. I got a special guest with me. He's gonna be first time on the channel, first time on anything. Never been on a podcast, or I guess the new iteration. We've been on different podcasts you can find randomly on the internet, but we're gonna do the Pick Six draft. So we're gonna go through. We're gonna pick a topic. We're gonna draft. It's gonna be me, the coach, versus Max. And we have special guest Chat GPT will be our third opponent. We'll pick, we'll debate, we'll discuss, and then at the end, you guys let us know in the comments who won, who had the better draft, who had the worst draft. So without further ado, let's get ready to go. And the first episode, we're going to do football rivalries. So how it's going to break down. We have to draft 3 college football rivalries, 3 NFL rivalries, and then 1 alt football. So it can be spring league, any kind of league, Japanese league, football, American football, European football league, Mexican league, like all leagues around the world are available. Has to be 1 random alt league. So that's how it's going to go down. We can draft them in any order, but we have to end the day with 3 college, 3 NFL, and 1 alt league. So let's get ready to go. All right, getting things started here. Max, the chicken farmer, with pick 1-1. I will have pick 2. Chat GPT will have pick 3. And then we'll do a snake draft. So Chat GPT will have the first pick in the second round, and so on and so on until we have all 7 picks. So without further ado, let's get ready to go. Chicken farmer, you are on the clock.
All right, I think 1-1. You think greatest rivalries, probably in all of sports. I think it's silly not to take the game. It's called the game for a reason. You think rivalries, you think Ohio State, Michigan. That's a
No, I agree. That's a good pick.
I mean that's a clear 1-1 pick in my mind. Now, obviously, none of us are like huge Big Ten guys. If there's a whole bunch of good rivalries in college football, but if you got to label 1-1, think there's not too much arguments against that one. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no, I agree. I think when you look at 1-1, I think, yeah, Michigan Ohio State has to be up there. It's a different level. They just care so much. Both teams have historical, relevance. It's not just, I think there's a lot of other rivalries that we might pick where there's a big brother, little brother, where I feel like Ohio State, Michigan, you can make an argument either way. Who's the big brother? Who's the little brother? Like I really don't think there's much difference. Like both programs have been great historically. It's very even when it comes down to the numbers and when you look at it. So yeah, I think that's a perfect 1-1. I was hoping you would drop that one to me.
Yeah.
I'll live with it. All right, my 1-1. I'm going to the NFL. This is a gamble, but I'm going to take this gamble, and I'm going to go Ravens Steelers. When I think of a good
You're
football
going
rivalry,
Ravens Steelers
I'm
as
going
your
Ravens Steelers.
1-1
I'm
in
going
the
Ravens
NFL?
Steelers as my first pick. I think Ravens Steelers is when I think of football, when I turn it on Sunday, that's like
Oh
one of the first
man.
matchups I think of. I think of Ravens Steelers. The Steelers good
Going
defense,
Ravens
Ravens good
Steelers
defense.
is your 1-1 in the
Yes,
NFL?
I
I
think those
applaud
are.
you.
I think
You
it's a
dropped the
great
other one
rivalry.
to me. It's a good rivalry. It's definitely up there, but I don't think it's 1-1 material.
Well, it's 1-2. It's the first round, second pick. So, sometimes you got to swing for the fences. I don't know. Maybe I have, the dud of the draft, but I think Steelers Ravens is a good pick. I love the rivalry. I think both teams are competitive. They're always fighting for a playoff spot, it seems like. I know in recent years the Steelers have been down a little bit, but I mean, I guess maybe it has a soft spot in my heart. But those early 2000s, it always felt like the Ravens and Steelers games are so electric and so much fun.
I mean, it's a good rivalry, and the AFC North, like as a division, like you can put any team against anybody, and it's a rivalry game, and like
Mhm.
the fans get into it. Like that division is one of the coolest divisions in sports because literally every team hates each other. Because I mean, you can even go Browns Ravens. The hatred there. Steelers versus anybody. You know,
Mhm.
Bengals Browns battle for Ohio. Like every team gets into it.
Yep. No,
That's
I
just a
do.
good division.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like that's where all the classics are, but that's the NFC. But we'll get to it. That's probably the other big rivalry.
Yeah,
I
that's the one I
guess
thought you would take.
I just hate one of those teams so much. So All right. Chat GPT, the AI first one off its board, according to the computer, is Alabama versus Auburn, the Iron Bowl. And then their second
Um,
pick is going to be Oklahoma versus Texas. So do you agree with those picks?
um, Honestly, even as a Texas fan, I don't think the Red River Showdown is up there. Only because, like, growing up, he was always second fiddle to A&M Texas. Like, yeah, it's a good rivalry. It has some hatred towards it. It's played at the Cotton Bowl. It's cool. It's special, but like, it's not their biggest one. So to take it, in the second round, I feel like there's cooler ones out there.
No, I agree. I think there's cooler rivalries, but when you look at historically, Texas, Oklahoma, they've been ruling that conference forever, and now they're about to go to the SEC. But before, like the Big 12, runs through Oklahoma and Texas. Like it feels like 90% of the time, the conference champion is Oklahoma or Texas. You have to win that game. Like that game is the difference between going, in the early 2000s was the difference between going to a national championship and then, getting stuck with like the Fiesta Bowl. So it was a huge game. And I think there's a lot of important matchups and a lot of big time, wins. Also, it's kind of earlier in the season. It wasn't like, how we have Ohio State, Michigan's at the end, the Iron Bowl's at the end. Oklahoma, Texas is kind of in that what is it, like the fifth week of the season, it always feels like. I think that's when it is.
Yeah, it's like it's anywhere from fifth to seventh, as far as I can remember.
Yeah, so it's early
Uh,
in the season. So it's like that first big rivalry game, that we get, and it kind of is the game of the day and sets the tone. And you have the Texas Fair, and the atmosphere is cool, and you play in you know the Cotton Bowl. So it's just cool vibes all around.
all right, what's your round two pick here, buddy?
So I'm gonna go with my round two pick, Army versus Navy. I think this game,
No,
yes, Army
fuck,
versus Navy. I wanted to
fuck.
steal that from you. I think Army versus Navy
Yeah,
is
I was hoping it was gonna fall to me. I even
you.
considered taking that 1-1-1.
You should have taken that 1-1-1. I think I got 1-1 right here. Like this one to me,
To me, there was two 1-1 picks for college football. It was that, and it was the game.
yeah.
Like, I
No,
don't think you could be mad at taking either one.
I think Army Navy. When you look at that matchup, when you see what they've done historically and how it works, it's just special. It's they play it. They have their own little week where they play it. No one else is really playing. It's a big game. It's always on national television. You have the armed services are involved. It's fun. It's electric. It has a lot of meaning. It has so much history, and it's just so much fun. It's a fun game, fun atmosphere. It's not always like the game and for a national championship or a conference title is on the line, but it has that just special place in a lot of people's hearts. And it's just a fun game. It's an electric game. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day who wins. It's just usually a lot of fun. So I like that one.
For my round two pick,
Chicken Farmer's second pick.
we're going to go to the NFL. We're going to go over to the NFC North, and we're going to take Packers Bears. You think classic NFL rivalries, you think of this. You could argue that it is the, top NFL rivalry, most historic, has probably the most meaning and significance. Anytime it's played, the NFL is just jacking themselves off, to all the history behind it and
Mhm.
everything. You think professional sports rivalries, think of that. And the hatred between the fan bases. I mean, if you go into Chicago with an Aaron Rodgers jersey on, pretty sure you get mugged. So I think that's a solid second pick. I think I got a 1-1 for, each division there. And with my number two pick, I'm going to take a rivalry that every year seems like it determines who's going to a national championship. Because, the game is cool, but let's be honest, Ohio State and Michigan, they don't win a whole lot of natties. These next two teams, this one is genuinely a national championship light, year in, year out. It's LSU, Alabama. I
I
mean,
don't
literally,
know.
literally, they've had national championships rematch from that game. I mean, you think you think rivalry games, what do you think of? You think games, the end of the year have the most meaning. Fan bases absolutely hate each other, and it has the most significance. Yes, are there cooler trophies? Yeah, and that's probably going to be my third pick. But I think you go history significant trophy. So
I
that's
just
why LSU Bama.
no, I think that's a reach. When I look at LSU Bama, I get what you're coming from with the national champions and the winning culture. And in recent years, yes, but I don't think it has the history behind it. If you ask LSU who's their biggest rival, they're gonna say Arkansas. If you ask Alabama who their biggest rival is, they're gonna say Auburn. They don't look at each other as the biggest rivals.
If
Yes,
you
there's a
ask
lot of
them,
meaning.
okay, but if you ask them what game, what regular season game they're probably going to go to, it's going to be that one.
Well, sure, if you have one game, like that game's going to be good and it's electric because both programs are really good. I don't think they view each other as much rivals per se.
I think it's also you also kind of got to look at it as this is a it's become more of a rival. Yes, it doesn't have the trophy like the Golden Boot. That's the game that they circle on their schedule.
Sure, sure, sure. No, I agree. I don't know. I feel like that one wasn't even on my radar. Like you could have picked that one seventh. It was not on my radar, and I'm sure Chat GPT doesn't even have it on its on radar. So I think that's a little bit of a reach. I think you could have got that one later, but like you saw something on the board, it was very high on your board, you took it. I respect that. I guess it's my pick now. My third pick, I'm going back to the NFL. I hate one of these teams. The other team, I have friends who are very annoying, but I don't really, I like their helmets, so I'll respect them. I'm going to go Eagles versus Cowboys.
That's another good division there.
I'm going
Eagles
to go,
versus honestly Cowboys. That whole division,
yeah, that whole
that's
division, but I just feel like Eagles, Cowboys, and maybe it's recency bias. It just means more. The Eagles are always really, it feels like have been good in recent years, at least in the 2000s. The Cowboys are always usually, in the division hunts, and both teams are fun, man. They're fun. They're electric. The fans hate each other. It's a cool, fun little rivalry, and yeah, I'm gonna go with Eagles Cowboys for Chat GPT, and they will select USC and UCLA. The crosstown showdown is their third pick. What are your thoughts on that one?
it's LA. LA's not a football town. Those guys are going to the movies. It's cool. I mean, USC is a historic franchise, but I mean, I don't. I think there's some cooler ones. It's a good one, no doubt, but especially with how they've been in years recent. I mean, it's just not super relevant.
Yeah. And then their next pick is going to be into the NFL 49ers versus Seahawks. So they'll take the
I
49ers.
mean, I guess when you go the Richard Sherman years, that's a good one. But
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I guess they've had good, but I don't really think of that one as historical rivalry. My next one, just because I think they have to go together. And to me, it's fun because I like bad teams, and I've always kind of had a soft spot for bad teams. So I'm going to go with the most famous bad team rivalry, and that's going to be Saints versus Falcons. Both teams hate each other. It's never really been historically for titles, but it always seems like it was for to not be the worst team in the league for longest stretches. And I think they really truly hate each other because they were both fighting for not last place. So I'm gonna go Saints and Falcons.
that's a good one there. That is a good one. A college football rivalry that has, in my opinion, one of the coolest names of any rivalry out there. Because Texas, Oklahoma is Red River Showdown, get the Iron Bowl, but this one just sounds like a good time, Coach. And I'm gonna go with the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Give me Georgia, give me Florida, let's run it.
No, I think that's a good pick. I think this one historically has been awesome. I think it kind of has lost its glamour a little bit because Georgia's been so good and Florida is kind of trying to figure themselves out. So it kind of, I think, recency bias. You look at it and you're like, that game hasn't really been getting a lot of hype, or at least in my opinion. But no, I think this one's fun. I think there's a lot of really good historical moments in it. You play it in it. I think neutral site rivalry games are so much fun. Like when they go out
Yes.
of their way to go to like a neutral site, like Texas, Oklahoma does this. I know a lot of other rivalries do it. I think it makes it so much more fun when you have half the stadium with one team, half the stadium with the other. It just makes the atmosphere cool, and it's always just a different vibe and a different feel. So I agree. I think this one's a really fun one, and I like the choice.
All
So
right, for my second one, I'm going to go with an NFL rivalry that kind of summed up our childhood. You turned on the NFL like when we were growing up, it was seeing one of these two quarterbacks duke it out. They would always meet up in and it was a little bit of later teams later on, but I'm gonna go with their prime teams. I'm gonna go Pats Colts. You get
ooh.
the Manning Brady back and forth. I mean, that's what football was when we were growing up. So I think leaving that off the list would be a crime. Now, yes, now I mean
Uh,
they kind of
yeah,
suck,
I don't
but
know, man. I don't view it as, I mean, I guess you have that 10-year window when it was a rivalry, but I mean, you go outside of it, maybe from 2000 to 2010, it was a rivalry, and then now, it's kind of gone. I felt like if you would have said Manning versus Brady, yeah, that's a rivalry, those two, but the Colts and the Patriots, not so much. They had a lot of meetups, they had a lot of good games, but
I
I
mean, I
mean,
think for me growing up, that was it.
no, I get it. Nostalgic pick, but I think a bad pick.
I mean, I'll take the criticism, but I think the fans will vote for it.
All right, we'll see. We shall see. My next pick, my fifth pick off the board, I'm going, and I think this college game, to me, it has a soft spot in my heart. I might be overrating it, but I'm gonna go Florida State versus Miami. To me, the Sunshine State Showdown is so much fun. It's electric. Florida State's my favorite college football team. So every time they play Miami, it's fun. I know historically it's been great, a lot of great matchups in the 90s, early 2000s, and then Miami sucks. Florida State's kind of fallen off, but they're kind of building
Mid.
themselves back up. But to me, there was a lot of good games in the Florida State versus Miami series rivalry. So that's why they'll be number 5 for me.
No, definitely a good pick, good rivalry. You know, like you said, some of these are kind of hard with recency bias. Looking through that lens will always, kind of discredit something, but I think it's a good pick. You know, historic franchises, a lot of tradition, and I
Mm.
think it's a good rivalry pick.
No, I agree. I think I agree with my own pick. That was kind of dumb, but yeah, yeah. Sometimes when you look at this, you have to go, okay, it's not. Don't look at it the lens of 2023. Let's look at it as the full rivalry, and I think that one's one you just have to historically look at as okay. It's fun. They compete for the same rivals, and they're in the same conference, so it's a loads of fun. Kind of Florida's kind of the odd man out in the big three in Florida. So all right, moving on to Chat GPT having to go with NFL rivalry, and the next one on its board is going to be the the Patriots versus the Jets. What are your thoughts on that pick?
I mean, kind of a lopsided rivalry, if you ask me.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially last 20 plus years, it feels like the Jets haven't really done much. But I mean, they had those 2 runs to the AFC Championship game, and I mean, I guess they hate each other. But yeah, the Jets are kind of
I mean,
definitely the little brother.
kind of makes it not as great, and I think that one kind of takes a hit right there with the Jets kind of sucking.
And then the next one it will take will be the Cowboys and the Washington football team.
I mean, yeah, that's a great division. I feel like there's probably still some better ones out there, especially with you already taking Cowboys Eagles. I feel like doing another Cowboys, a team kind of hurts it a little bit. I mean, I know I already kind of stretched it doing 2 SECs, but I don't think that's a good pick at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, I'm gonna go with my next pick. I'm blanking. What should I do here? I got a couple on my mind. I think though I'm gonna go with this one, just historical significance. USC versus Notre Dame. That's going to be my next pick.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's probably the next biggest one up there before you get into, some of the more regional ones. But especially with you think geographically, it's kind of a coast to coast rivalry, which is pretty cool. So I think that's a good pick. Obviously, two very historic teams. You think college football, you kind of think of both of those teams. So I
Exactly.
think it's a very good value pick to get. That was one I was considering over Georgia, Florida, but I think that's a damn good value pick.
Appreciate it. I just think when I look at USC, and Notre Dame, I think they're also opposites in the rivalry, and it makes it more fun when teams are kind of opposite mentalities. And it's just so much fun to watch that one when it plays out. USC's on the rise, Notre Dame's kind of good, so it should be a good game this year. So,
I mean, they're always somewhat relevant.
yeah,
You might say that they're never top tier, but I mean, they're always up there. They're always going to be ranked.
it always
You
seems
know,
like one's in the championship kind of picture. It feels like even if
yeah.
one, and then the other one's kind of usually a little bit down, maybe a tier or two, but it feels like always their game means something and has a lot of value to it. And then, I mean, I just always think about to the Bush push in the early 2000s when USC won that game. That leaves your sixth and seventh pick.
All right. For my final NFL pick, I am going with a game that kind of seems like no matter how each team is doing, and you don't see this a whole lot in the NFL, but it kind of seems like no matter how each team is doing, somehow chaos ensues.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been somewhat relevant here recent, and it's still pretty historical. The teams get absolutely into it. I'm going Chiefs Raiders.
Ooh,
I mean,
that's a good
AFC
one.
West matchup. Give me two old classic teams. You think the just win baby Raiders versus Lynn Dawson smoking cigs in the locker room. That's a lot of history right there, and I think it's a solid pick to round out. The final NFL pick. Now, for the next one, you can give me, and I didn't know where quite to go with this, but we said, it's not NFL, not NCAA football rivalries.
Yep.
To be fair, we never said anything about it having to be professional.
That's right. We never said that. So what'd you go with? High school?
So I'm going, give me Texas high school football, Friday Night Lights. Being an East Texas kid, give me Longview versus Marshall.
Okay.
I think that's a solid rivalry. I thought about going, since I'm here now, New Braunfels Seguin. I think that's a good one. I also thought about Nederland PNG.
Some good old East Texas high school football. I like it. I like it. I like
Yeah,
it.
I mean, you could have also gone Longview Lufkin, just because we used to play Lufkin all the time. That's a cool place to go play a game because and those fans are crazy. And the locker room, their visitor locker room in Lufkin is think what you would think a shack in the woods of East Texas would look like. I think they had two outlets in there, one like strip of fluorescent light bulb and a single toilet without any doors around it, and that was the visitor locker room, and like two benches, and it's underneath the home stands, so like you come out and you're just getting screamed at. It's a very, very cool place. So, but I think East Texas, let me look at the official history. I mean, they started playing in 1909. I mean, that's some history.
Historic. I'll go USFL then, and I'll go Breakers versus Stallions. I think Breakers versus Stallions is a fun rivalry. And I think when you think about USFL, even like historically, I think it's a fun game. You have New Orleans, you have Birmingham, and at least in the newest iteration, they're both the only teams in the South Division to make the playoffs. They're always playing each other. I know the Stallions have won both playoff games, but the Breakers, have given them some trouble and kept it close, except for the last one. Ooh, that got rough. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Breakers Stallions.
That's a good pick, but I think these spring leagues are just hard just because they're so new. Nobody really, quite knows what to expect, and that's what kind of made me go, what's got some history behind it. That's what I think. I think you did a good job, especially the USFL having a little bit more history than anything out of the XFL. So I think that was a good pick for going spring league. Definitely a 1-1 spring league pick, but it's just really hard to call that a rivalry, because like, do the fans really get into it, and I'm sure like in a couple years, yeah, if everything keeps trending how it is, but that's what I'm that's kind of why I decided to go Texas high school football with my pick.
That's fair enough. And then the final pick for Chat GPT, it went out of this world, basically going for this one. It goes with the Frankfurt Galaxy versus the Hamburg Sea Devils of the old NFL Europe League.
Hey, here's what I'm gonna say. That Do you follow any of those teams on Instagram?
I follow the European Football League on a little bit, but not. I keep up with maybe like a couple of the scores and a couple of the players, not
I've been
much though.
following the Sea Devils, the Hamburg Sea Devils
Uh-huh.
on Instagram. I've followed them for like, I don't know, a year or two now. They sell out. Like, they can get into it over there. It looks kind of legit. Like, I mean, it looks like at least college football over there.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Like
like an
FCS.
American League game or something. Like they got some fans over there. It's starting to look pretty good. Happy for them.
Yeah, no. I think that's a good solid pick. So go over and review the picks. So your picks, you went 1-1 Michigan versus Ohio State. You then went Packers versus Bears, LSU versus Alabama with your third pick. Fourth pick, Florida versus Georgia. Fifth, Pats versus Colts. Six, Chief versus Raiders. And seven is Texas high school football, Longview versus Marshall. My seven picks or Ravens versus Steelers. Army versus Navy, Eagles versus Cowboys with the third pick. Fourth was Saints and Falcons. Five was Florida State versus Miami. Six, USC versus Notre Dame. And seven, USFL Breakers versus Stallions. And then ChatGPT went with Alabama versus Auburn, Oklahoma versus Texas, USC versus UCLA, 49ers versus Seahawks, Pats versus Jets, Cowboys versus Washington Commanders. And then their seventh and final pick of NFL Europe / European football is Hamburg Sea Devils versus the Frankfurt Galaxy. That it concludes our draft. Go in the comment section below, vote, let us know, leave a comment. Do you dislike our picks? Any honorable mentions that we should have talked about? Anything we forgot? Let us know down below. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and see y'all next time.